Let's just review for a moment the opposition to the 100 days of the Trump administration. And it's actually, if you think about it, a tripartite, a threefold opposition. Pollsters, the media, and the Democratic Party, and the institutionalized left. What is the one principle that ties them all together? Fear that Donald Trump's first 100 days are not as chaotic and bad as they tell us, but we might be on the cusp of something that will be very, very successful and will ensure Donald Trump has a successful presidency. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. At the end of the 100 days of the Trump administration, let's just review for a moment the opposition to it. And it's actually, if you think about it, a tripartite, a threefold opposition. Pollsters, the media, and the Democratic Party and the institutionalized left. The pollsters have Donald Trump down four or 5 points, but when you actually look at the Rasmussen poll or Mark Penn's poll, a Democratic centrist, Trump is almost even. And then when you look with greater clarity at the New York Times poll that has him way down, you see that only 37% of the people polled voted for Donald Trump. But Donald Trump won by almost 1.5 points. Don't you think it should have been, 51, 49%? So they were deliberately, in the case of the New York Times, under polling Trump supporters. The same was true with the Washington Post. They polled over 2,000 people, but only 840 were identified as Trump voters. Shouldn't that have been half? So what am I getting at? We're getting right back to what happened in 2016 when the polls were completely wrong. The same thing happened in 2020 when they overestimated Biden's strength by 4 or 5 points. And then even in 2024, the NPR poll had, on the last day of the election, they had Kamala Harris winning by 4 points. The Des Moines Register had Iowa lost to Trump by 3 points. He won it by 12. So what the pollsters are doing, not that Trump hasn't lost some to the controversy over the trade wars, but the pollsters are trying to create momentum, fundraising, and jazz up opposition. Then we turn to the media. The media is in a fight with the Democratic left now because of the scandal of Joe Biden. The Democratic left is saying, well, you were a journalist. If you thought he was demented or cognitively challenged, why didn't you report it? But the journalists are saying, we couldn't get close to him. He looked okay for us because you had him in such a guarded environment. In truth, they're both guilty. Do you remember those press conferences by Karine Jean-Pierre? Did anyone ever hear one question on those daily or 3 or 4 times a week press conferences? Miss Jean-Pierre, is Joe Biden cognitively able to navigate himself to the podium? What is the nature of his cue cards? Have you had a Montreal cognitive assessment of him? There was nothing. It was a combination of the Democratic Party, the Biden insider, and the media. And here's another point very quickly. The media has gained a lot of influence and power in the opposition because there is no opposition on the Democratic Party. So in lieu of an alternate agenda, the media has taken it upon themselves to use the only strategy that the Democratic Party can come up with, and that is to attack Donald Trump. Now, what do I mean by that? If you look at the Democratic Party and the left in general, they have boxed themselves in. On the one hand, they have no institutional power, no ability to pass legislation, losing the House and the Senate, no presidency, White House, no executive orders. Ultimately, all of the cherry-picked district and circuit judges will be overturned by a largely conservative Supreme Court. In lieu of actual power, then you look at what is the alternative. Maybe the alternative is a 1994 Newt Gingrich contract with America, an alternate agenda. Yes, we can do better on the border than you can. Yes, we have a better foreign policy with Iran. There's nothing. There's no shadow government. There's not a young Bill Clinton ascendant. There's no young Barack. There's nobody. There's no leaders. There's no agenda. Nothing. It's nihilism. And so let's look at the third element. Do they have a good old days? Can they say Donald Trump ruined things? They were so good under Biden. The border we liked it open. 12 million, we could have got 20 million illegal aliens. Let's go back to that. We had a wonderful retreat from Afghanistan. Picture perfect. We can do it again. The Iran, the theater war in Ukraine and Iran, that wasn't our fault. Maybe it was inevitable. We had a really good inflation. We had a little hyperinflation of 9%. So there is no alternative good old days. They can't say Donald Trump wrecked something because they had wrecked the country. So what are we left with? We're left with Donald Trump wore a blue suit at the Vatican funeral. Donald Trump is a fascist. No, according to Governor Pritzker, he's a Nazi. No, according to Al Gore, he is a Nazi. No, according to members of the Congress, is he deserving of polite conversation? You have to use the F word, or maybe it's the SHI word. It's smutty mouth, potty mouth videos. What is the one principle that ties them all together? We're going to talk about that in the next video, but it's about fear that Donald Trump's first 100 days are not as chaotic and bad as they tell us, but we might be on the cusp of something that will be very, very successful and will ensure Donald Trump has a successful presidency. Thank you very much. This is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Signal. Please like, share, and subscribe to be notified for more content like this. You can also check out my own website at victorhanson.com and subscribe for exclusive features in addition.